Hello and welcome to Studio 12. Today we're going to talk about the sacred feminine. We're going to talk about how to awaken the woman, the goddess within. And joining us is Eleftheria, who is coming for the first time to Slovenia from the Republic of South Africa. She has been communicating with the spiritual realm as far back as she can remember. This gift has literally saved her life more than once and guided the lives of others. A third-generation clairvoyant and a background in psychology, her passion is awakening of the sacred feminine, and she has been facilitating women's empowerment workshops, retreats, and consultations for the last 10 years. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've heard that you had more than 3 near-death experiences, and that your clairvoyance, who has been passed on through generations, has helped you in that. Can you share with our audience a bit about those experiences?
Sure. I think I'll share the third experience, which was the most powerful, I think. And I was on an airplane, on my way to my sister's wedding, and I felt a little bit tired that day, and I thought I would just take a rest, and my mother was with me in the plane. And there were 2 different things happening. In my world, I thought I was just resting, and I saw grey spots, and then I saw this beautiful tunnel of light, and all of a sudden I had my grandmother and my uncle, who both had passed away, next to me. And because I'm clairvoyant and I communicate with my family that have passed away all the time, it was very normal. And I thought, okay, this is lovely. We're having a catch-up chat, and we were walking down the tunnel until we got to this huge vortex of light. And I then kind of realized, oh wait, hold on, this is a threshold of really leaving this realm into the next. And they said to me, look, it's your choice. You can come with us now, or you can choose to stay. And it was a personal choice for me to stay. There was, I remember saying, there's some more forgiveness work that I need to do before I leave. And they said, okay. And I was back in the plane. And what happened in the other dimension, really, in the plane, was apparently my mother told me, and all of the passengers told me, that I had a seizure. My eyes started rolling back, and I had a seizure, and then I let out a breath, and the air hostess came, and she took my pulse, and she said, well, there's no pulse. So yes. And then I think when I made the decision, I then came back. Yeah.
So in your work, when you work mostly with women to awaken their feminine side, do you also use this gift of yours, clairvoyance?
Yes, it's very much part of the work. So I studied psychology mainly just to make sure that I wasn't crazy and that the voices I was hearing was real and not imaginary voices. And so I combined psychology with spiritual work and energy work and connection to our higher selves in the spiritual realm.
How would you describe, just to make a common sort of vocabulary here, the feminine, or the feminine energy that we're trying to reawake?
Okay, so there is a global awakening that's happening, I think, in men and in women with the sacred feminine energy. And for me, the definition of the sacred feminine energy is a state of grace. And that state of grace comes from having a balanced divine masculine and divine feminine energy integrated together. And we can only kind of move forward in this sacred feminine energy once we've healed the inner masculine, wounded masculine, and the inner wounded feminine.
Is there a way for us to know how far ahead are we in awakening the both sides and balancing them?
I think that intuitively we all have all the answers, and I think there's that beautiful saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I think it's really about, we're moving globally into this movement of really heart-centered living. Everybody's wanting more and wanting a clearer, more truthful, authentic experience of life. And I think so people can discern that really for themselves. They know when they have some more work to do. Things don't feel, they're not at peace 100%.
And what are the main differences between the feminine and the masculine aspect that are in every person?
Good question. The masculine aspect is really action and structure, and the feminine aspect is receptivity and flow. And so a beautiful Tai Chi saying is, and this embodies it for me practically, is to be steady like a mountain but to flow like a river.
Right. You mentioned that we have this unresolved, wounded parts of our masculine and our feminine side. And how are these shown in our lives?
I think that the wounded masculine has set up this experience of competition and jealousy and an imbalance really of what the divine masculine embodies. Yes. Yeah. And the wounded feminine also is, there's a collective wound amongst women about on the topic almost of betrayal. We don't trust one another. Women can get very competitive and also jealous, which is also the wounded masculine aspect in it. And it's a feeling of imbalance. And you can see it across the world really, where we're so set on gaining things outside of ourselves which we think is going to bring us happiness. And the truth is that lightness of heart comes from really letting go of external attachment for happiness, for success, for whatever we define that to be. The answers really truly come from within. We can't buy, I think we're living in a society where we're trying to buy lightness of heart, but the truth is that lightness of heart comes from within.
You're also writing a book on the collective feminine wound.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Is that something that is especially in women over generations?
Yes, I think we've only experienced a patriarchal society for the last 6,000 years. And before that, it was a matriarchal society. Before that, it was a matriarchal society. And I think we're moving back into a matriarchal society. And I just want to clarify that matriarchal society is not the opposite of patriarchy. So it's a space of balanced experience where men are revered as much as what women are revered. We're very different beings. We're not the same, but there's equality on both sides. And during matriarchal societies, people really thrived. And I believe that we will thrive again. So the collective wound comes from women being disempowered in that patriarchal system. And over time, a long lineage of that experience. And so my book will really be about the gift and the wound of that betrayal. Because from a higher perspective, we truly learn about power from an experience of disempowerment. So we learn about forgiveness from a space of being hurt or going through abuse. So that's the spiritual insights that you gain from these challenges that we experience.
Can you say a bit more about this matriarchal society? Because some people have an archetype image of the Amazon woman that is, not really something, something we want to strive to get to. So can you describe in your vision how this society is going to look like?
Sure. So it's a society that's really structured with two main agreements in place, and that is to focus on peace and prosperity for all. And in a matriarchal society, the choices and decisions that we make is for the good of the entire community. So it's not about serving the self, but it's about being in service of the collective, for the good of all. And when we start making decisions from that point of view, we start looking after Mother Earth, we start reconnecting with nature, we take the fences down between us and elephants. We can live in harmony with nature. In Africa, there are some communities that live in harmony with lions and elephants and the big five kind of, animals. And also a culture where arts and culture is really, really important, because that really inspires people, and art and spirituality are really closely related and integrated. So it's a different society. Think about the opposite of what we're experiencing right now. Yeah.
And what will be the role of women and the role of men in making this society possible, happening here now?
I think that we've evolved quite a lot emotionally and also spiritually, and I think that we're all collectively going to recreate or rebirth a new way of being. And we'll all need to find out what is comfortable for both of us. I think men and women are very confused about their roles right now, with women stepping into empowerment. And there's no right or wrong way. It really is just finding your own truth and being authentically you. And I think that truly is the answer. I don't think that we want to box in a specific role for anybody. Because when people are happy and they're living in their heart, it does, it's peaceful and it's beautiful.
Especially in the Western world, the feminine image is being used, exploited actually, in advertising and everywhere. And the women, and especially young girls, are getting the image, you should look like this and like this in order to be accepted, in order to be loved. Mm-hmm. What can you say to those women that still need a little extra energy to see through all that?
Yes, that is truly where the awakening of the feminine energy needs to be awakened, really, because it's about stepping back into sacred reverence of your body, sacred reverence of who you are, and really starting to love who you are, instead of trying to fit into a mold of what society or whoever, it doesn't really matter, is telling you what is acceptable. Because the need for that really is approval at the end of the day. It's about, if I look like that, if I have that, then I have value. And the truth is that your individual beautiful self has value, because we're all pieces of a puzzle, and we can't create this new state of being without each other. Every single person that is here on the planet at this time has chosen to be here specifically for this greater purpose that we're all about to unfold. So it's about, I think, moving away from what we think we should be, and really the future is with the youth. So I'd love to see more and more projects where we say no to exploitation of women. You know, there's also the fierce face of the feminine, which is not quite feminist, but it's still the fierce face of the feminine that goes, no, this is sacred space. We need to take back that sacredness of truly honoring who we are.
Can we make a distinction? Because I know that you're not talking about the feminist ways of fighting for women's rights. Yes. Can you just explain a bit more of the difference?
Sure. I think that we have to give credit where credit is due, and I think I truly do honor the feminists, because they really did fight this path, burning their bras and, you know, being free, and really they've opened up the path for the sacred feminine. And at that time, I think it was relevant and it was needed. And I think now the next stage is to bring in the softer kind of sacred feminine energy in it. So it's a more balanced space of being, we don't need to fight anymore. We're all kind of awakening, and so now we can just be. So the way forward, in order for you to be peaceful, you don't go enter debates in being peaceful. You are peaceful, and it's contagious. People look at Gandhi, look at what Gandhi accomplished, you know, with passive resistance. So the fighting time is over. We're grateful for it because it opened up a lot of doors, but now it's time to just be the example, to do.
And to be in touch with yourself and happy with the way God or Goddess has created you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we're more in touch with ourselves, we're probably also more in touch with all the environment, all the nature.
Yes.
And some aspects of nature are especially connected throughout history with the feminine side, like the moon, the earth.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more how you see this connection and maybe the development, the realization more of and usage of that connection?
Yes. throughout time, women have been really connected to the moon, and we're, for various different reasons, the moon really affects the tides and the water on the planet. We're 85% water. So when we start flowing back into the natural cycles of the moon and where the moon is, we start living healthier lives as well. Also with women's, we call it the blood mysteries, with women's period. If they start flowing with the full moon, they experience a lot less disharmony. If you're out of flow with the full moon, you're moving against something that's pulling water out of your body. And so the more we start flowing in balance with nature, the happier and easier things flow in our lives. Whatever you resist persists. So it really is about working and living in harmony with what is already there. Nature has so much wisdom for us. I've just come back from a magnificent experience meeting the white lions of Timbavati in South Africa. And in that space, there are two rules, and that is how to interact with nature, to come from a space of love and respect. And the reciprocity that you get back from nature is just absolutely amazing. It was like entering another world. And I think that is really where we can move to again, because we've been there before, where there's lots of, ancient history and stories and mythologies from Africa about people that really live in harmony with nature.
Since you lived your whole life in South Africa, is there any parts of the heritage, African heritage, that you can share with us to help us on this way?
I think it is that connection with nature. South Africa and Africa really is, I feel, is Mother Earth, really. It's Mother Africa. And many prophecies and legends talk about Africa being the cradle of humanity, and there's lots of other prophecies saying that the new wave of consciousness will come from Africa again. And I really think that it really is about that reconnection with nature. I think when we disconnected from nature, we lost that sacred reverence for life. Because if you don't have to worry about elephants and lions walking, into your camp, you don't have to be present. So you can get lost in Facebook and all of these other things and distracted by the dramas and that kind of thing, but nature keeps you present. You have to be available in this moment, and really feel and be connected with your intuition. So that's the gift that nature really brings us.
So, like centuries ago, we were connected, but then there was this period of time when women were suppressed, the feminine side was suppressed, also in men. And are we women living now still carrying that emotional baggage, that suffering from rapes, from inequality, from all that, and how to cope with that? Can we do something individually to help to clear that collective wound?
Yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, there are still places in the world where women are still severely suppressed, and that rape is something that happens almost every 5 minutes. So it's still happening on the planet. And I think the answer really is a beautiful example of somebody that's a conscious activist is Eve Ensler. I don't know if you know about her, but she started a movement this year called 1 Billion Rising. And it was that global campaign of 1 billion women dancing to say no to rape. And I think that's never happened before. And it's a beautiful, I think she somewhere in an interview she talks about it being a tsunami of real awakening to that. So I think the answer is to say no. We are not allowing this any longer in our society. It's to put down a real good boundary and say no.
And what do you do in your sessions with women or in workshops to sort of rectify that wound and to awaken the feminine?
So there's a couple of processes that we do, and it really is about healing that wound, and it's about letting go of those limiting belief systems. So the program or the wound that women hold is that they're second-class citizens. That's the way almost we've been socialized. And when you start letting go of that and you start stepping into who you really are, you start really honoring your intuition, because the gift that women have really is to sense and to experience all the other realms that are happening around us. And for many centuries, women were called lunatics for that, from the moon, because we used to flow with the moon and the moon was important. And that's where the word comes from. So now it's really about stepping back into that space of honoring that, because that truly is a gift. Often women, even in business, have this great sense of intuition of what to do, when to do it, and it becomes really successful. So it's honoring that, letting go of all the old belief systems, and then stepping back into connection with nature and meditation, movement, dance. It's a whole bunch of things that we do, but you'll have to come on to the seminar to experience these things. Yeah.
And how are our relationships going to change when women and men honor their feminine and masculine sides more?
I think we have a choice then to step out of the ego battle, because there's been a power struggle for such a long time. So we can step out of that ego battle and really step into a heart-centered connection and experience with one another, which I think the whole world is calling for. The whole world really wants to experience a beautiful relationship that has respect and equality in it. And it's available, and I see wonderful couples actually experiencing that these days. And I also see women and men asking for that, saying this is the heart-centered relationship that I want. I don't want to be in role definition or in an ego battle anymore.
And how about our sexuality? How is that going to be affected?
Again, I think it's also stepping out of the ego aspect of it and really stepping back into the sacredness of it as well. There, energetically, when we start connecting on a sexual connection with one another, it's really, really powerful healing energy. And some aspects of old ancient texts really talk a lot about how that sexual energy is healing. It's golden energy, and when it starts being utilized in the correct way, the great benefit of it is that you have longer orgasms, which is, the body really likes that. But also there's a spiritual connection again. And so again, it's that reverence and respect for every connection. So
we said that the roles of men and women in today's society are being sort of mixed. People are confused. Especially women first coming into the business world had to take on some of the masculine aspects in order to be accepted into that world. But I think now that's also changing already. So what's your advice to people who are having thoughts, who are struggling with that?
Yes, I think that definitely in the beginning, women, when they were stepping into that role, really became, I'd like to call them the patriarchal female. So they were really, the masculine energy was really, really strong, because they thought that they needed to fit into a male world, or a man's world. And also the environment didn't really support that femininity. Now it's shifting and it's changing, which is really good. And I think that I often, when I have corporate women come and see me for coaching, I usually say to them, if I was you and I was the CEO of a company, I would put my moon time cycle on a calendar, and because I'm a woman, and I would mark off day 28 and say, don't come into my office that day, because I'm going to be irritable and I'm going to be moody and you're not going to get the right answer from me. Because it's truthfully how we experience things, to not try and suppress what isn't true, and to try and be something that we're not. Yes, so I think that's...
So it's basically really being in touch with ourselves, but also showing that to the world, not having it as something secret.
Yes, yes, and to not pretend to be something that you're not. And that really comes down to spending a lot of time getting to know yourself, asking yourself that age-old question of, who am I?
And what about the men who are experiencing sort of in one way that they need to be the masculine old masculine, strong protector, and on the other side that women of today expect of them to be also accepting, loving, nurturing, able to talk about their feelings.
Yes, yes. I think men usually say to me, I'm so confused these days. Should I open the door? Shouldn't I open the door? Must I pay? Mustn't I pay? And my answer is usually to them that every couple is individual. And there are no rules of right and wrong. And a couple needs to decide what works for them and what doesn't work for them. Maybe there are some things about the old system that you like, that work for both of you, and some parts of the new way of being that works for you as well. But one thing that women keep asking for, I think, and I hear this even in Slovenia, is for men to really start accessing their heart more, and to start speaking about their feelings more, and to connect on the spiritual level. And I think that is happening. I think men are getting more in touch with their feminine side and their intuition. They also have a great intuition, but it's been suppressed for a long time as well. Men were also not allowed to express their emotions. The only emotion they were allowed to express in a patriarchal society is anger. So they really have a great, they really are great nurturers. If we take the feminine and the masculine, and we strip down the feminine of all the conditioning, patriarchal conditioning, she really is, she holds the aspect and the gift of power. And when you strip down the masculine of all of the conditioning and the patriarchal stuff, they are heart, they're true heart, they're great nurturers, they're actually better with kids sometimes than what we are.
So what are maybe some practical benefits of us when we switch from coming to our mind to coming through our heart?
Joseph Campbell was a fantastic teacher, and he said, follow your bliss. And when you start living a heart-centered life, you start doing what you love to do. And the second you start doing what you love to do and you follow your bliss, doors open for you, and people stop being depressed. There are so many people that go to a job day in and day out and absolutely dislike what they do, and they become depressed. And this is why we have a society that's, that's depressed and ill, and we have all of these different side effects from it. So I think that really truly is the answer. At the end of the day, we want peace and prosperity. That's what everybody wants. So it's about following that and knowing that you're supported in that.
Some people nowadays feel confused because the old roles of who you're supposed to be when you grow up are falling. Yes. And this new way is not that they haven't mastered it yet. Yes. So they feel confused, not knowing what is their true calling in this life. Yes. What would you say to those people?
The best thing to do is to think about when you were about 5 years old and what you used to play. What game did you used to play? And also to ask yourself, what is your passion? Because your passion and your life purpose are very closely related. It's when you follow your heart, it is light, energetic work. When you feel tired and drained, you're not on your life purpose. There's still challenges on the way, but they're joyous challenges. You know that this is an experience, there's a divine lesson in this, and there's some wisdom that I'm going to gain from that challenge, but it doesn't drain you.
Okay, our time is coming to an end. Maybe you have an advice to women and men to conclude with, what to do practically in their everyday lives to honor their feminine side and their masculine side and to heal them.
I think my advice would be to detach from any drama that's happening around us, and to take time to just become still and to connect with your heart, to really just drop your sight from your eyes into your heart and to start asking yourself, who am I? And what do I truly want to experience here?
Thank you very much. Thank you for this talk.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we wish for you to truly accept and show to the world who you truly are, and to honor the woman and man within. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.